Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Chat GPT Mastery Series in our bigger AI Mastery Series. And this is our purple belt level where we refer to our purple belts as confident operators. And this particular recording is about the frequently asked questions at this level. So as a reminder, for the confident operator, what we are hearing and where people usually start this belt level is they understand that ChatGPT is in fact helping them. And now they're looking at, okay, it's not a toy, it's a tool. How do I get better results with it? And really, how far can we take this? So this is, I would say, about exploring the boundaries of what is in fact possible using ChatGPT. And in particular, we're going to have a little bit of fun and get into the concept of custom GPTs. Don't worry about that. We do a full walkthrough in our dojo where we show you exactly how to build one. So from the insight point of view, the highest value is in recurring integrated workflows. We are building systems, we're building frameworks that our team, ourselves, what have you, we are following. And the beautiful thing is that our custom GPTs will enforce that for us. So for clarity, we want to identify bottlenecks in our business that are draining you. So I talk about 4 types of costs. We've got time, energy, attention, and money. We're looking at bottlenecks that are costing you time, but also by default, probably energy, attention, and money. And what we want to do is create custom GPTs that either eliminate, automate, or delegate those bottlenecks so that we can have a better run business. And the ultimate goal with business is we want to have a level of success that we define. For some people, that means working less. For some people, it means earning more. For me, it means having more impact while working less and earning more. We're going to help you customize and create custom GPTs that get you to those results quicker. And then for growth, we're going to show you how to achieve true leverage by letting the custom GPT script do the work while you focus on strategy. And really, truly, custom GPTs are just automated systems. So we've eliminated, this is where we're automating. And by the way, if we automate well, then it's easier to delegate. So we'll talk about that piece. But eliminate, automate, delegate is a theme that you will hear over and over. I first learned of the concepts from Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week. Since reading that book, I've really studied those 3 things. He talks about 2 paths. One is deal, one is lead. So his deal is delegate, eliminate, automate, liberate. And his lead is liberate, eliminate, automate, delegate. Now, personally, I've studied this over and over and over. I believe we eliminate, we automate, we delegate. That order is crucial. So I am standing on the shoulders of a giant. Tim Ferriss is the first person who helped me really, truly understand the Pareto principle. If you have not heard of him, I highly recommend reading the 4-Hour Work Week. It's aspirational, not exact details, but it's relevant today as it was the day he wrote it. I've read the book at least 10 times, and every time I read it, I go, oh, and I have some new toy to play with or new tool to implement. And by the time you are done the purple belt, you should be understanding clearly that your job is to be strategic. ChatGPT should be handling execution wherever possible. So we're going to find a way to make that a reality for you. So as a reminder, you've walked the steps. If you have not walked these steps, please go back and make sure you have. Stages 0, the white belt, up to stage 4, the blue belt, they give you the foundational tools so that you can step into stage 5, the confident operator, and actually see results with confidence. So a lot of people tell me, I actually had somebody this week said, Jeff, I just want to go straight to the black belt stuff. Give me the black belt stuff. And really, truly, I want you to think about this from a martial arts point of view. If you're jumping in the ring with a black belt, you're going to get a beating like you've never had before in your life because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what to expect, when to expect it, how to react. And believe it or not, I've actually seen black belts get injured when sparring with people who are significantly inexperienced, because inexperienced people tend to panic and cause very unexpected reactions that can be dangerous to both parties. So you might be tempted to say, well, I'm advanced, I'm going to jump in at stage 5. My advice is, at the very least, go through the theory, and you can just read the slides if you need to, and make sure that you are comfortable with each of the steps at the earlier stages before you jump into stage 5. Now, what we've done is we've built a foundation. I've taught you about the Eliminate, Automate, Delegate platform framework, and now we're into the let's build custom GPTs. So, by the way, if you don't know what a custom GPT is, go back and look at the other videos because you're going to be lost. So, question 1, how do I turn my personal Chat GPT routines into repeatable systems for my team? So first, I will define a custom GPT. And again, this is answering questions. We're not going to do a demo yet, but in our live calls, this is what we do. We demonstrate and then we practice. So the routine is usually first couple weeks of the month, we're demonstrating. And then the rest of the month, we're implementing and we're practicing. And like a martial art, I've broken this down so that the fundamentals, the foundations, all build to where we're at. So if you followed the other courses, what we've done is we've identified areas in our business that we can eliminate, automate, or delegate. I won't beat that drum too loudly today, but that is always the order. And what we've done is we've created manual processes. Most people call them standard operating procedures, SOPs. And then what we're going to do in our blue belt, we've tested those as a series of prompts. Basically, we're building the pieces and we're testing and optimizing each piece. And now we're going to assemble a custom GPT. And if you don't know what a custom GPT is, it is just a specialized version of Chat GPT. Chat GPT actually has a custom GPT builder built in. And what a custom GPT does is it takes your instructions, your customized instructions, and it creates outputs based on that. So for all of us by now, and this is why I say don't skip steps, in the white and yellow belts, we practiced some basics. In the green and blue, we started building SOPs. And now here we turn those SOPs into an actual custom GPT. So what that means, and I'll just back up and describe the language, a large language model, of which ChatGPT is one, is a subset of generative artificial intelligence. So that takes inputs and creates outputs using its routines and knowledge. Now, a large language model like ChatGPT is, and ChatGPT is also a subset of the general pre-trained models. Sorry, general pre-trained transformer models, that's GPT. The first T doesn't count apparently, so it's general pre-trained transformers. Basically, it calculates the next best word, ChatGPT, by definition, is an exceedingly large language model, and so it's calculating based on a large pool of data. A custom GPT is a refined large language model, so it's more specific, and basically we train one as a specialist in one area of business, which really truly is just following a system that we've created. So, first things first, foundational. If you're not confident in your systems, your SOPs, you're not going to be confident with your custom GPTs. Now, the other thing I just want to throw out here, I am a huge fan of taking artificial intelligence, the AI, Chat GPT, and combining with authentic intelligence, you or your team, to create what I call augmented intelligence. And what that means is we are the adult, we are the expert at the thing, and we're using ChatGPT as a tool so that we get it done better, faster, and to a higher standard. So that's what we do. We test and test and test our systems, and only then do we upload them and turn them into custom GPTs. So a custom GPT will deliver better results in a specific thing. And just think about this in real life. If you've got a specialist, let's say somebody who only practices in baseball, for example, you'll only have somebody who is a pitcher. The pitcher doesn't try to play all different field areas. They don't try all of the positions. If somebody's identified as a good pitcher, that's what they're doing. And the reality is a pitcher will outpitch, let's say, an outfielder every time because that's what they do. So we have custom GPTs as specialists. Chat GPT can play any position on the team, but they're not going to play it as well as our custom GPT because it is trained on that position. So I want you to understand this is about mastery, not about testing, trial and error, and hope for the best. Question 2. What's the best way to document my workflows so that others can follow them easily? This is actually one of my favorite questions, and the reality is you're going to hate my answer because the answer is it depends. And I'll explain what I mean. So, one of the fundamental issues we all need to recognize as human beings is that there are 5 dominant learning styles. And I follow the VARK model, VARK. V is visual, so some people need to see pictures, flow diagrams, etc. A is auditory, they need to hear it. R is reading and writing. They need to be able to see it and write about it. They process it. My dominant style by far is reading and writing. And then K is kinesthetic. So it's more hands-on. They need to touch. You will see this in our demonstrations that we do. It's very much for the kinesthetic learners. And then the final group, which didn't make the VARK cut, is community learners. So there are some people who only learn by being in a community, discussing things. And so one of the things we do, I actually have a custom GPT that does this for me. Spoiler alert, my default is reading and writing. So my default delivery, the way you learn is the way you will teach. So my default is reading and writing. So I'm an author, I write books. If I have something complex, I create a workbook. That's how I best learn workflows. So for me, checklists, templates, tools, those work well. Now, what we want to do in the perfect world is have a little bit of everything so that everybody can learn our workflows easily. Now, that sounds a little onerous, but I promise you that's the magic of custom GPT. You can come in and say, hey, I know I learn best from this. Help me learn this. Now, the way I create workflows, and I will teach this in our dojo, I record myself walking through the thing. Whatever that thing is, I walk through it my way. So my favorite is doing workflows on a computer because I can record my screen, I can have my video, I can have my voice. I can actually walk step by step through, here's how to do something. That is the perfection of workflows. It makes life really easy. In real life, maybe you've got something that's done out in the real world. Maybe it's, here's how to assemble this, or here's how to fix that. Still, record a video of somebody who knows what they're doing, and that's critical. I usually get my best people to do it. Record the video, and once the video is done recording, just have the person explaining, here's what to do. Zoom in and show parts, like if you're fixing something, you can show people how to actually do it. I watch a lot of how-to videos on how to fix my computer, and honestly, it drives me crazy when people don't zoom in. So they say, oh, remove this part here, and it's like, what part are you talking about? But basically focus on the thing being done and record it, start to finish. And by the way, most recordings are going to be imperfect. When I'm teaching something new, not the new to me, but the new to me teaching it part, I might forget to say things, and I might say, oh, go back and remember, don't forget to do this, or here's a couple of best practices, here's a couple of common mistakes. Doesn't matter if the recording is perfect. It just matters that it's as complete as it can be. So again, I usually get my best person on the team to do the recording because I want to clone their skill set. I don't want to clone my worst performer, so I'm going to try to get my best performer. And this shouldn't take long. It should take slightly longer than if the person was just doing the thing by themselves without walking through it. But basically, we record it, then we transcribe it. There's plenty of tools out there. I use Google Meets to record my videos, and then Google transcribes it for me automatically. I get notes and transcript when I'm done. You might want to use something like Otter.ai or Descript or things like that. But once you've recorded it, you transcribe it. And then this is where it gets really powerful. You can use one of our custom GPTs. We have a couple that help you turn recordings and transcripts into SOPs. But basically what we're doing is documenting what is. And so we're going to give the draft to our in-house rock star who recorded the video and get them to make sure, this, I always print it. You can do whatever you want to do. I let them redline it and mark it up all over because I want them to think about the workflow, not using software to edit it. So I let them edit it, make sure the order is there, make sure it's complete. And then I give it to somebody who's never heard of this thing before. And I ask them, what assumptions did the expert make that you would like or need answered in order to start? And this is where I usually see some friction. It's almost always, we didn't define this word, we didn't define that word. So you're going to define everything. And then we're going to put that checklist into Chat GPT. We're going to explain the context. We're going to explain the outcome we want. And we're going to get Chat GPT to help us optimize that process. And we're not going to wholesale revamp it. We're going to tweak. So I do a series of experiments using the scientific method, basically change one variable at a time, optimize, test and measure, and see what the results look like. And once you've got it optimized, give it to a new person again, your new person. You don't need a new person, but give it to them and see if it's clear and have them follow it step by step. Before you do anything else, they should be able to produce the same result following it step by step. Once they can do that, then you use that document to shape a custom GPT. So there's a bit of manual, and yes, you're going to call me out and say, but you said you'd save me time. Yes, it takes a little time the first round, but once you get better and better at this, the time you save doing that activity again and again, you can invest in doing this for other activities. So I always start with one activity, that is consuming at least an hour of my day. It's monotonous, it's repetitive, and I find a way to eliminate it, automate or delegate it with a custom GPT. Question 3. How can I delegate tasks to AI and humans without creating confusion? This is actually a fear-based question, but the reality is it's also a hope-based question. And so I'll share that. Delegating tasks to Chat GPT and humans requires two things. Number one, you need a solid standard operating procedure that your team, one of the adults on the team, one of your experts has vetted, and one of your novice new people has tested. And basically, once you've got that SOP ready to go, the second thing, and by the way, a good SOP, it will only focus on one task. How do we accomplish this one task? But it also will have, here's what the human does, here's what the AI does. And I go so far as to have prompts for the human, which is just questions saying, have you considered this? Have you considered that? And I have actual prompts that I would ask the AI to answer. And then based on asked and answered, we have, I've explained this system I follow before, but I will explain it one more time, at least. We start with inputs. What are we requiring for this task before we can start? What do we need? Then the process steps. What is the step-by-step way we take the task, the inputs, and we transform them into our desired deliverable or output, if you will? And then we have a quality control. What are the metrics we're measuring against? What must it do? What must it not do? And then we have a feedback loop. In the feedback loop, we're asking the human, what do you like about this? What don't you like about it? What would you suggest we do to improve it? And then once we solve the feedback loop, and by the way, the feedback loop becomes an input into the process. It becomes iterative until we've met our quality control. So think of it as a loop rather than a once through, check it off and it's done. Nothing leaves our desk until we're happy with it. We're the adult. We say, yeah, that works. No, it doesn't. So we do the feedback loop. And then once we're happy with the feedback loop, we've done our quality control. Then we deliver the output in draft form to our human. And at this point, we're hoping the output is at least 80% finished. And then the adult in the room, the human, is going to add their finishing touches. Now, a couple things I've done. So just to recap that very succinctly, we have inputs, process steps, quality control, feedback loop, outputs. And again, feedback loop is the key. It's a loop. Now, once we understand that, one of the things I do is after the human has completed their task and they've signed off on it and said, yes, I'm the adult in this conversation. I believe this is accurate. It meets our standards. What I do is I will then add the final version back into my Chat GPT conversation and say, here's what you gave me. Here's what I believe the final output should look like. What could we do to improve your process so that we get closer and closer to this every time? Now, for the record, that can become an endless loop and people get lost there. You're going to do it a few times just to prove to yourself that you've gotten as close to perfect as you can. And again, we're not actually chasing perfect. We're chasing high quality, good enough we would deliver it to a client. Question 4, how do I know which processes are ready for automation and which still need me? So going back to question 3, we talked about the steps in the process. We talked about the quality control and the feedback loop. So I would say If we're going to have the metrics that we measure. If we're consistently getting 80% or higher, that is ready for automation. If we're consistently getting less than 50%, we haven't actually done the work on the system setup first. So I can't say this enough. Chat GPT is a mirror. It will reflect back to you what you've put in front of it. So if you put in front of it a well thought out, step-by-step, thorough process, including examples of what the finished product looks like, you will get a clear output and you will get great results. But if your process is all over the place, it's not clear, there's fuzziness to it, vague stuff, assumptions, misdefinitions, you're going to get really terrible results. So your process is ready for automation when your human, your superstar, has gone through it, agreed that this is the way I do things, these are the assumptions I make, these are the gaps, etc. And then once you're new to that process person, once they can replicate it manually, then you're ready to go and automate it. Question 5. How do I teach my team to use AI without overwhelming or intimidating them? So this one is a great question. What we're going to do is teach them how to augment their work with AI, not teach them how to use AI per se. So basically, we're not teaching them AI in general. We're going to teach them the basics of the foundation. We're going to teach them how to use the interface, but truly, we're going to show them, and I think I mentioned this earlier, we have 2 requirements. We create an SOP, and then we use that SOP to create a user guide. So what we're doing is we're showing them, and this is where it gets powerful, they need to understand the workflow first, and then we're showing them how to use AI to get the work done faster. And by the way, one of the biggest things I hear all the time with AI is, my employees are faster, should I pay them less? And honestly, that's one of the dumbest statements I've ever heard. I don't care about how many hours somebody worked. I care what they produce in that time. So if I have somebody who's able to get their entire week's worth of work done and do it at a high level, do it consistently, I don't care if they work 8 hours or 40 hours. I'm willing to pay them for the outputs they deliver, not for their labor input. So I think that's going to be the biggest revolution with AI in general, is we're going to have to figure out how to value outputs, not hourly rates for inputs. And I think that's a opportunity and it's a risk. We're going to have to find a way to get it right. Question 6. How do I track results and prove the ROI of my AI-powered systems? This is going to be an individual, it depends answer. And it depends on what your business is, what you're tracking. But one of the things I do is I always benchmark, and I will ask my best people approximately how much time every day, week, month do you spend doing this task, and how much time do you spend fixing, following up, etc. And then what we start to do is track the time. And I don't mean, I come from the accounting world where we had to track every 6 minutes of our life in tenths of an hour to say, here's where I spent my day. But really, truly, we're looking at it in the systems we build. There will be metrics we're measuring. So we have quantifiable proof that our results are getting better. Our best people, basically you look at a task, it'll have a range. Your best person might do something in an hour. Your slowest, least performing person might take 3 hours. The 2 areas I would track would be how much faster is the expert? Can they get it down to 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes? Anything below the 60 minutes is savings. And then for our slowest person, can we save them some time? Can we get them doing it faster? But also we're looking at doing it better. So it's a little harder to track quantifiably better, but the reality is if somebody's getting a score of 5 out of 10 today, a month from now, we should be seeing that score steadily improving. So I personally wouldn't track it on a task by task basis, but at the end of every week, I would have people look back and say, what was the biggest thing, biggest advancement, the biggest time savings you found this week? Question 7, what are the early warning signs that I'm over automating or losing the human touch? So I will say this until I'm blue in the face, or purple, I guess is this is the case. AI is meant to support humans, not replace them, not eliminate them. And what we're looking at from a really practical point of view is, am I able to get better results for my clients, better results through my employees with less time, less effort, and make more money in the process? So early warning signs are, first and foremost, if we're over automating, people's time drops significantly, but their output is terrible. So this is about automating the things that make sense to automate. And we've talked about that. We're going to eliminate what we can, and then automate what we can, and then finally delegate what we can't eliminate or automate. We should be using this time to have more human interaction. So really, truly, if people are over automated or we're losing the human touch, customers are going to say something's off. You're going to see interactions drop. And I can't stress this enough. The goal of this is to free up time so that we can be more human. And this actually scares people because they think, oh, I'm going to lose my job. The most important thing, in my opinion, is nurturing the relationships with our employees and with our customers. So we should be having more conversations. We should be reaching out to them more. We should be asking them questions. So really, if you're not having more time to talk to your customers or your employees, you're probably seeing some early warning signs. And again, it really depends on what business you're in. What I will generally say is we want to eliminate, automate, delegate on the back end, the behind the scenes stuff that nobody cares about, nobody notices. It's kind of the invisible inner workings of the business, so that what people see is a company that cares and that has time to talk to their clients. So again, it's aspirational. Our goal is to eliminate the friction points. And really, if you're seeing more friction, more hostility, more disagreements, you're probably over automating, or you're automating the wrong things. And that's what we do in the dojo, is we identify the things that we should automate and recognize the things that we should humanize. Question 8. How can I use Chat GPT to improve collaboration, not just solo productivity? I personally believe that collaboration is the number one output of Chat GPT. Now, sometimes that comes through Chat GPT, sometimes it's a byproduct because of Chat GPT. So first things first, solo productivity is huge. This is the get more done so you can go home early and spend time with your family moments. Partly what we do there is we identify being effective, which is doing the right things, and then we look at being efficient, which is doing things right. So if we start with effective and then get to efficient, and we use eliminate, automate, delegate to get there, we're going to be working less to produce better quality stuff. Now, this is where collaboration comes in, and I have a few thoughts on this. I won't give you all of them today, but part of the values that we promote in the dojo are about community and collaboration. So what I like to do, and I've been inspired by the US military, I like to have everybody having a maximum of 5 direct reports. And what that means is you've got 5 people beneath you, and if there's more than 5, you break it down and there's people beneath them. I'm not structuring an organizational chart to be complicated. It's just humanly impossible to manage too many people. And then you start to build layers of people who are non-producers. They're just leading and managing. It becomes cumbersome. So what I do is I have little mini teams where you have a team leader and 5 people who are part of that team. And basically you can use collaborative tools like Google Doc, Slack, Notion, etc., to share ideas. And this is where the real power becomes unstoppable. If you've got a team collaborating on strategy and optimization, everybody's going to grow, everybody's going to win. So the key is solo productivity comes first. We've got to free up the time, because if you're working 80 hours a week and I tell you go spend another 2 hours a week improving your team, you're going to lose your mind. So we want to bring that productivity up for everybody on the team so that we then have time for that team collaboration. And I promise you, once you start to eliminate, automate, delegate through that efficiency efficiency filters, you will have more time to collaborate. And what I've found personally is things feel like they're slowing down because you're in a natural state of flow. We've eliminated all the friction points, so we're not bouncing around trying to fix things. We're just accomplishing things using our time at the best level we can, highly leveraged. And by the way, there is a book called 10X is Easier Than 2X, written by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I believe that with good AI implemented responsibly and correctly, we can go for 100 or more times effectiveness. Therefore, we can be at least 1,000 times more efficient. That is lofty, that is aspirational, but that is my view. We can build large companies with small employee bases because we're able to get a lot done and we're able to do it well. Question 9, how do I stay updated on AI advancements without falling back into overwhelm? So this is a reminder. We kind of cover this at other stages of in our digital dojo. People, I can't say this quite right. I believe that people are addicted to shiny objects. Now, the difference between those who succeed and those who don't are the people who follow the shiny objects and they know which shiny objects are good for their business versus bad. They will succeed more than those who just chase shiny objects. Personally, I have a combination of autism and ADHD. I can chase shiny objects all day long and I can be exhausted, but I don't accomplish anything. That's the ADHD kicking in. On the autistic side, I have hyper focus and I can spend hours going down a deep, deep rabbit hole and focus on one shiny object. Now, what I've learned, and I have a quick filtering system, I spend my work days focused on optimizing what I have and what I need in my business. My weekends and evenings are where I chase shiny objects to my heart's content. Now I'm getting to the point where I spend roughly 1 or 2 hours a day chasing shiny objects because I have the time to do that. So I have a little incubator concept in my business. It's my lab. It's where I go to be the mad scientist and experiment with AI. But I design experiments. I have a framework around them, and that keeps me from overwhelm. And again, I've mentioned this before, treat everything new like it's hype, like there's likely a learning curve and there's a cost to learning new things. Ask yourself, and again, this is the effective filter. Ask yourself, does this help me with my business? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then you want to say, is this a today help or is it a investment today that's going to pay off later? I have a parking lot for the future investment ones, and anything that's going to help me today, that's what I prioritize. And then I use the efficiency filter to implement and experiment and bring it in. So the way I avoid overwhelm is I have a framework. There are ideas that I need to chase. There are ideas that I need to wait and see. But basically, I will promise you, you will get distracted with the world of AI. Somebody's going to come out, there's going to be a new AI model, a new AI company, a new video tool, or a new audio. There's a lot of shiny objects. Ask yourself, will this make my business better today? Yes or no? And if you can't unequivocally say hell yes, then say, I'm going to put a note in that and come back to it later. So I will say, do what works for you. I have a spreadsheet system. I have Google Docs and Google Sheets where I track my parking lot. Those are the things that I will look at someday. And I have about an hour a week where I review that parking lot and say, okay, maybe it's time to look at that. But the key for me is I have a system, I follow it, and I'm always implementing only after I've seen the value in it. I've validated it before. And if I can't build an experiment to test it quickly, I don't do it. So it's up to you. The other thing I would say, life should be fun. As you're saving time with your custom GPTs, build one that helps you evaluate advancements to see if they fit into your needs in your business. And honestly, this is my biggest takeaway. I'm mastering Chat GPT, and that's my primary tool. Once I'm confident in that tool, then I can look at other tools. So I mastered Chat GPT probably about a year ago. I've been teaching people how to use Chat GPT at different levels for about 3 years now. And yes, the early courses were laughable in hindsight because there was so much I didn't know. But the reality is I taught people what I had learned. Now I can refine that. So use AI to help you avoid that overwhelm. Question 10. What's the next stretch project that will challenge me to level up? So this is a two-part, and part one is you personally, part two is you professionally. So for me personally, once I learned to create custom GPTs, then I started really, really refining them. So in this stage, I'm going to be honest, you're a bit of a custom GPT tinkerer. You're going to be learning a little bit. You're going to test it. You're going to see what works, what doesn't. Personally, the next level up for me was to learn how to learn. And yes, I created a custom GPT that helped me identify my learning style. And then I created another one that helps me personally absorb a topic based on my learning style. So by now, you as a human being, as an individual, you should be really confident and comfortable with a couple of workflows. You've built a couple of custom GPTs. you should be seeing that return on investment, and you should know that this works for you personally and professionally. So the next thing is, and this is where it becomes fun, and this is where the personal leads into the professional, make a list of all the steps that your business uses to go from stranger with a client, a prospect, to turning them into a prospect, turning them into a client, and then serving them. And David Jennings in Systemology, I think his terminology is critical cash flow, something like that. Cash flow, it's a CCF, critical cash flow diagram. And basically what you want to do is look at all of the steps that you currently take, and document what is, not what you wish it was. But basically you're going to identify all of the steps that are needed to take somebody from stranger to raving fan and everything in between. And the focus here is the stuff that generates cash in your business. Now, the reason I call this a stretch is if you focus on inbound cash, everything else ultimately sorts itself out. And what I mean by that, I am not naive. Cash is the lifeblood of a business. If your business is struggling to bring in cash, no matter what you do, your business is going to struggle. So if we solve the cash flow first, everything else we live to fight another day. We've got the patience to fix, but first things first, let's fix and optimize the cash flow. So I have a process I follow, but basically the very first thing I look at is how do we get people's attention? Are we running ads? And by the way, attention, there are 3 ways to do it. There's paid traffic, there's borrowed traffic, and there's free organic traffic. Personally, my struggle with paid traffic is you get traffic, you can get traffic quickly, but the minute you stop paying, it dries up. And if you're getting the wrong traffic, you're going to cause bottlenecks and problems down the road. So getting the right paid traffic is critical. Borrowed traffic, that's where you do partnerships with other people. Paid traffic can be good if you have a solid system that follows it. Borrowed traffic, same thing. You need a good system. Borrowed traffic is, for example, speaking on a stage at somebody's event, being a guest on a podcast, having an influencer promote you. The borrowed traffic is good. And basically the way I see it, paid traffic and borrowed traffic build things up while you're building the organic free traffic. So in my opinion, organic free traffic can be the best. It's the most long-term if you do it right. So that's the first thing, is how do we get their attention? And then once we've got their attention, how do we help them understand their problem? How do we add value to them so that they know beyond a reasonable doubt, actually beyond any doubt, that they have the problem we solve? And then I walk them through how we solve it. So either they like the way we solve it or they don't. And then finally, we invite them to participate with us as clients. And once we have that, then we start to look at how do we deliver. So I sum that up in 3 words. I call it attract, convert, deliver. And so what I would encourage you, and this is what I do in the dojo, every 90 days, you're going to have one high-level strategic project in each of attract, convert, and deliver. And basically, my goal is every 90 days, you're optimizing one aspect of how you attract, convert, and deliver. So you're going to do 3 projects every 90 days. And that accumulates that by the end of the year, you've got real progress. So that is the stretch project. From a personal point of view, you want to get better and better and better at designing the custom GPTs. And then the professional at the organizational level, you want your team to be focusing on how do we improve, attract, convert, deliver. And by the way, in one of the earlier questions, we talked about collaboration. If you're doing this right, if you've got custom GPTs that are helping your team deliver better results faster and at higher quality, then they're going to have time. I call this I borrowed from the US military, they call this tiger teaming. You want to tear the things apart and find all of the friction. Think of it like you're child-proofing your business. You're going to sand off all the rough corners. You're going to baby-proof it, put plugins and things around everything. But the goal is to optimize your business. And by the way, this is simultaneously the greatest gift you can give others and the greatest gift you can give yourself. Because a business that's eliminated friction becomes a joy to work in, it's a joy to own, and it's a joy to work with as a customer. So that is our next stretch, is identifying areas that we can use and improve with attract, convert, and deliver. Now, we invite people, if you've not heard of the Pharos Digital Dojo before now, our Stage 0 White Belt program is completely free. We host a weekly meeting. People are allowed to come. They can ask their questions about their white belt level material. We're building some confidence. And I won't read this out, but basically, as you get more and more advanced, the investment goes up. And this is at your discretion. If you want to advance, you do. If you don't, you stay where you are. But basically, the reason it advances is as you get better and better, you're going to get better results. So our purple belt investment is $500 a month. Because we're now playing at a systems and framework level, you should by now have identified and eliminated, automated, or delegated at least 10 hours from your personal week. If you can scale that to your team, that's even better. I'd love to see that. But really, truly, by now, you've proven to yourself consistently you can save at least 10 hours a week. And here we're getting into being really confident as an operator. And again, our top tier, our double black belt, this is the empowered advocate. And here we're teaching people how to teach others. So this is my favorite belt. This is where we start to give back, but also it's where we see personally the highest return on investment. Therefore, the investment there is $1,000 a month. So if you'd like to learn more, go to pharosbusiness.com/digital-dojo. Thank you.